You're probably familiar with this circuit, which is just simply connecting an LED with a single resistor up to an I/O pin. The only thing different, instead of hooking it to ground, what I've done is I've hooked the other leg of the LED up to another pin. And if you look at my code, what I've done is, I'm going to flip these around here. And if I run this program, what should happen is my LED lights up, just like you see. The circuit, like I said, you might be familiar with it, probably looked a little something like this. Let's start by just adding a second LED to this circuit. And so what we get might look something a little like this. Because LEDs only glow if you connect them one way. If we reverse the second one and connect it to the same places that the first one is connected to, we can control which one lights up by which one of these two pins we set high and low. The green one is reversed from the red one. If I run my program just like I had it, I turn on the red one, and if I flip these two around and I load that program instead, now I light up the green one. So now what happens is, to light these two up, we control pin 6 and pin 7 instead of 6 and 5. And we should have similar, it will behave similarly to what we have. So now if we take and adjust our program so that we have pins 6 and 7, now we'll be able to light up those other two lights that are on our circuit. So there we've lit up the red one by having 6 low and 7 high, and if we change it so that it's high and low, now we light up the green one. So now we have control of 4 LEDs with just 3 pins. We're going to take and connect LEDs between these 2 points, here and here. There's a couple of things that won't work with our current circuit. You'll notice that if I try to light these LEDs up, I have no resistor in the path. And so what we'll want to do instead is we will want to take and add resistors here and here. Now the problem is if I make these all 220, now all of my LEDs get kind of dim. And so what we can do is we can sort of share the load here. Instead of having 220, get rid of that, let's try to get resistors that are all about 100 ohms. So that way we have approximately 200 ohms running through whichever LED we want. So if we want to light up this LED, here's 200 ohms total in the circuit. If we light up this one, here's 200 ohms total in the circuit. And if we light up one of these, here I've got 200 ohms total in the circuit. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. I don't have any 100 ohm resistors. All I have are these 220s. But I can get close to 100 by connecting these in parallel. Watch this. And if you want to know more about this, just Google Ohm's law and read about hooking up resistors in things like parallel and series. So I'm going to hook up these 2 resistors in the same parts of my breadboard so they're effectively connected to each other. And I'm going to just show you what that looks like with my ohm meter. But now you can see by plugging in that second one, we've effectively sort of cut it in half. So in order to get my hundreds, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double up resistors. I've basically got 100 here, 100 here, 100 here. And now let's get those last two LEDs in place. And remember, they're going to jump all the way across. And I'm going to do yellow. So what we're going to have to do with that third one that we're not using. So remember, we have 5, 6, and 7. What we have to do in order to make that third pin sort of turn off so that it doesn't really output either ground or 5 volts is we're going to have to turn it into an input. And what that does is it sort of blocks anything from going in and out of the pins. So whichever pin you're not using, just set it to an input. And so if we have 6 and 7, one high, one low, and I load that, remember that's going to light up one of my LEDs. And you're just using these 3 different things. So now this should light up one of, oops, let's go 7, 7, 6, 5. Keep them in order just like we have them on the breadboard here. And if I want that middle pin turned off and I care about these 2 high ones, then we turn this middle one to an input. And now I should light up one of the yellow. And so now if I flip these 2 around, I should light up the other yellow LED. There it goes. And so now what you could do if you wanted is you could create a sort of switch case statement here. So what we'll do is we'll say if item, we'll just use the item variable. And then remember, we have 6 different LEDs, so we could have 6 different cases here. Let's see, 5, 6. And now what we can do is we can just recreate, and I'm going to show you a trick. If you want to copy more than one block at a time, here's a quick little trick. Just grab something like the repeat forever and just start duplicating it. Just by highlighting this thing that's surrounding all the blocks. And now let's go through. What's our first combination? We can say low, high, input. And we could go high, low, input. Now let's move the input to the middle. Low, input, high, high, input, low. And then lastly, putting the input on the top. We do low, input, high, and input, high, low. And just double check, make sure those are each of our possibilities. And let's just say this is possibility 1, and one more time, 6. And now what we can do is we can maybe just put this in something like repeat item 1 through 6, and just put like a little pause in there. Pause. Now let's go half a second. And so if we run this, we should get a light show. And if I want to do even better, what I can do is I can repeat that forever. It looks like I might have goofed something up in either my code or my program here. Oh, this one right here. Change that last one to an input. You see the point where 2 of them are turning on is because I had this goofed up. So let's try that again. And now what you can do is you can kind of monkey with the order so that you can get them to go around in the way that you want. And I'm not going to do that in this video, but basically this is just to show you again how to light up 6 different LEDs just using 3 pins on our controller. And if you had 100 ohm resistors, then you could just use 1 resistor for each of these pins too.